Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is David. Today, I had a great conversation with a good friend of mine, Ezra. Now, Ez, to all of his enemies and most of his friends, is known as the Emperor of Podcasting. Now, he's got 5 projects out there that I encourage you to take a listen to. You can find him on the Hyperspace Hangout, a Star Wars podcast, Bend the Knee, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast, an Unexpected podcast, Talking Tolkien, Further Up, Looking for Lewis, and Heroes of the Horn, a Wheel of Time podcast, which is actually new. They just started dropping episodes there, so make sure to check all those out for me. Now, the conversation kind of was a free flow. We did a little bit of where is Disney going next, what might we see coming up, and we talked a little bit about the Rise of Skywalker, so hopefully you enjoy the conversation. Here it is.
So when are we going to Galaxy's Edge? When are we going?
Oh, wow, man.
Not to put you on the spot, but let's go this year, right? 2020.
Oh, my goodness.
I just want to go. I want to get there. It's one of my New Year's resolutions now is to go because our friend Lindsay, Dave, she's
waving her sabers around.
Right? It's ridiculous, dude. She's gone how many times?
Probably 14 for all I know.
Right, yeah. She's probably gone to it more than she went to to see the Rise of Skywalker. Okay, so the Lady of Lore, we are calling her out.
I don't know, more than she's seen the Rise of Skywalker. Ooh.
I know. What do you think she's up to? 15?
Probably. She's got us
times?
both beat combined times 4.
I know. But dude, how you been, man? Are you ready for 2020?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm ready for 2020. It's kind of almost here, so I can't not be ready. But yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Podcasting and living and doing all the fun stuff that goes in a standard day's time. So yeah, trying to wrangle the elusive Ez. I've been trying to wrangle him in a phone call for months.
Oh, jeez. It literally feels like since I went on, so being a teacher, I get Christmas break, which I hate to even mention. Yeah. I hate to even mention it. But from the time I've been, it doesn't feel like it's been a break to me. I don't know why. Probably because I'm recording so much and I got sick. My friends got sick. Just various things here around the house, some personal stuff going down. Like, dude, it has been crazy. I was like I'm looking forward for my break to end so I can go back to like a regular, work week. That's odd. But I was like, I don't know. Do you ever feel like that? Like sometimes you go on like either a vacation or you take some time off and you're like, wow, this got a little overwhelming.
Well, it's funny because like, I took, basically 5 straight days here to end the year. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then it's like, well, it's Tuesday. I'm running out of time. That definitely happens. But yeah, when you're the emperor of podcasting as is, his time's filled. You're up to what, 4 now or 3?
I would say, let's see,
4.
An unexpected, hyperspace, bend the knee, and heroes. And heroes is brand new. It's kind of, I don't know. We take our time with it, and then further up. I mean,
5. Whoa.
Yeah, so that's sort of, and then I just talked to you about throwing in a YouTube situation as well.
I know.
What's wrong with me? What is wrong with me?
I mean, I'm now getting back into the role of like pre-posting videos for YouTube, and the podcasting stuff has been so nutty recently with the release of Rise of Skywalker. I've had Lindsay and our mutual friend Mike Charles and Chase and Erica and all these folks on to talk about the movie, and it's just been kind of a whirlwind. We still haven't even really talked about like Resistance Reborn or The Force Collector. The Power Half Hour has been kind of delayed, so to speak. So I've got some comics to jump into there. The new Marvel Star Wars series started back up a couple weeks ago, so they're rebooting that.
Oh wow!
But yeah, there's definitely a lot going on. It's funny how the end of the year is like that anymore, and it's like, oh, Christmas bang, or Thanksgiving bang, Christmas bang, New Year's blop, 2020.
Yep.
So
yep,
we need to relax, man.
Oh, dude, that's where like after this recording with you, I'm going to plan. I told you my calendar. I'm getting my calendar out, and we're planning out maybe some of the cons we want to go to, putting stuff on the calendar, and then if I just stick to that, and then I can kind of work other things in and around that. It's just kind of crazy because, like, if you don't do that, this is a New Year's resolution for me, then really it's hard when people are like, hey, man, you want to get together this Saturday? And it's like, dude, I barely know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I need to have that calendar like in front of me, because last year I missed a con that I wanted to go to, Ice and Fire Con, because I got too busy and kind of booked some stuff. So I'm really going to try to set aside some time to go to these various cons, and I've got people who I can go stay with, so the cost of it is going to be a little bit cheaper. And I talked about you and me taking a couple road trips and going to some of these cons. I think it'd be, we already have one for sure pinned down, Star Wars Celebration, which we can't wait for.
Oh man, yeah, I was talking with Lindsay about this a couple days ago. It's like, do you feel like it's forever away right now, and that you kind of wish it were a little closer?
Yeah.
Because of everything that's dropped, I'm hoping for some big things, because I think we have a potentially a direction with Star Wars, and I don't necessarily think it's going to slow down. I just think that the saga's over, and we're going to start hopefully getting into some other stuff. But heck, we've got Clone Wars coming up, the new season of Clone Wars coming up. We've got at some point the Cassian Andor series that seemingly everybody has kind of forgotten about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In the fall, we're back with Mando, which has been excellent. I don't know what you've thought about that series, but I've thoroughly enjoyed that series.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
And then, I still think that there's a potential for more movies, like actual movies. Mm-hmm. But, I still think it's going to be jam-packed, and then we still need to figure out what the heck Project Luminous is.
Yeah, is that a January announcement?
That's what I thought. I mean, that's what I thought it was. It's supposed to be sometime in January, and that's including Claudia. Who is that all including? Claudia Gray, I know, was one. Yeah. We sat in the panel during last year's celebration.
Yeah, let me see if we can pull them up real quick, because it's like it was about 5 or 6 different authors here. So, Daniel Older is one who he wrote the one of the solo books leading into that. Claudia Gray, Charles Soule, let's see, Justina Ireland, I think Kevin Scott.
Yep.
So yeah, so some of these names I definitely recognize, and I remember sitting in that panel and thinking about this. So let's see here. It is set to be released in 2020. Details about the event are still scheduled to be revealed in January of that year. So, looks like we're going to be getting something, pretty soon. And it's a combination of books and comic books, right? I mean, it's sort of like a...
Well, I mean, Charles Soule has kind of been the big name behind pretty much anything Star Wars Marvel comic for some time. He did that really excellent Vader series that we talked a bit about. Mm-hmm. And then he's I think he was involved in the Kylo Ren and several throughout this year. So he's been very involved. Obviously, I mean, we know Kevin Scott's name, Claudia Gray. She's been putting out stuff like Fire this year.
Yeah, she has.
Master and Apprentice. I mean, that killed it for me.
It did. I know. That was a great book. That was awesome. Very well done. Yeah. It looks like this Justina Ireland is the junior novel author. So she's done Lando's Luck and Spark of the Resistance. So kind of those junior novels, which is pretty cool.
I mean,
So
what if, all right, what if they're just lining up for something that's going to set the base for something big, for potentially a new trilogy? Do you think that they're going to, because I know Claudia Gray has been big into this. Do you think that they might go back Old Republic or before the Old Republic? Or do you think they're going to like an actual like whole new thing to add on to what we've already seen?
So
or are they just filling in holes?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope they're done. I like not that there's still there's still like some holes and some spaces to be filled, as you know. But I think it would be kind of cool if you wanted to go get this type of team together. I think two places you could go would be go back to the very beginning of the timeline and start to kind of work on Old Republic stuff.
Yep.
You know, way back in the day. And get a bunch of literature laid and introduce some characters and stuff who maybe are going to be woven into a trilogy or something. Or I was recently, Matt here on Hyperspace has been talking about the idea that you could do like a Marvel thing. So maybe like, I don't know. And I don't really know how much it's a cool idea, but he's talking about like maybe Rey having her own movie, Poe, Finn, these different people, and then them kind of building up to another big either saga or trilogy, and they could do that with some of the literature. So I feel like there's two places this group might be working in, and that could be, continuing on with the timeline or going back to the beginning of the timeline. There's a lot of people already doing filler stuff. I mean, Mando is filling a hole. Cassian would be as well. So would Obi-Wan, the TV series. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what do you think?
Well, I don't know. When I look at this stuff, I either think like from the beginning, because I know that excuse me, Claudia Gray has been talking for some time about some of the Old Republic stuff, and I know that she was really excited to do like stories of Qui-Gon Jinn and everything, but I don't know, man. I mean, I just have like a feeling in the back of my head that says that this is going to be something new. It's going to be centered around something new or some new character or characters. I mean, we had our Jedi Fallen Order, which introduced Cal Kestis, and I kind of feel like almost feel like that's sort of what we're doing. We're either accentuating some of these supporting characters, or we're creating. I mean, the Mandalorian, creating something new out of that. And I'll tell you what, if I don't see Mando Baby Yoda in the next season, that would be a little disappointing. But no, I'm just kidding. But I don't know, man. I get the feeling just because of all the cross pollination here between comics and books. I feel like it's going to be something new.
Okay, so let's look at the and I haven't really done this, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, because if you look at, and we're going to get to Tross and all that stuff later here, but I think this is kind of cool because it's maybe coming out right now in January, and this episode will obviously be posted here shortly in 2020. But so the little promo thing that they have that they kind of gave us at Celebration, it says the Force is what gives a Jedi his power.
Yep.
It's an energy field created by all living things until Project Luminous. So it's like they're talking about what gives a Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things until Project Luminous. So is that going to be like, like Jedi are severed? Is someone attacking the Force? Is someone attacking like this energy source? So it's called an energy field that's created by all living things. Like what the heck does that mean? Are we going back? I don't know. And there's also a little like Jedi Academy, sort of like the symbol for that right underneath Project Luminous and 2020. And here's something. So you read that, and then here's something crazy. Think about this. Down in the development on the Wikipedia page, it says that in September 2018, all 5 authors who had signed on for this project were taken to Skywalker Ranch, and they're talking about the story. While they're there, they got to see a 4K screening of A New Hope. Then they went back again in March of 2019, and they saw a 4K cut of The Empire Strikes Back. I don't know if that's just they saw A New Hope because it was fun and they were there and they wanted to kind of show it to these authors, or, why so it's in there to kind of almost throw us off, I think. Like we don't really know. Are they looking at the original stuff, or is it going to be something different?
Well, or I'm just throwing this out here. You've read in Legends quite a bit as well, but could we finally be getting in that 30-year stretch of what the heck Luke was doing all this time?
Yeah.
I mean, because they specifically, and like you read in the little promo thing there, they specifically say Jedi.
Yep.
So if we were going back to the beginning, they weren't really Jedi. They were like, Jedi and, and everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We had some weird and kooky legend stuff with Luke.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what if we were trying to establish that timeline? Because it's not something that's necessarily fleshed out extremely well, at least from his perspective. Because, I mean, we've got Aftermath, which, was the birth of Ben and the viewpoints of soldiers on the ground. And then, Leia and Han and, a little bit of Mon Mothma and so forth. But, I mean, what if we were going to it? I mean, we've got little tidbits. In what was it, the Battlefront campaign? I think there was something with Luke in there. So he's been out there doing stuff. Like, when do we get that explanation? And what if there was something that he fought? Because we're talking about the Force is what gives a Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all things until somebody like you said, messed with it or created a way to tap into the Force, or did something more like it sounds nefarious to me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And is Project Luminous the title of this group, or is it the actual title of what's happening? Like a project that was started, to in a more literary word, luminous, illuminate, beings into the Force or something of that nature.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you wonder if they tried to, like this whole idea of everyone being Force sensitive, maybe people want to acquire that ability, and they are designing something that allows them to connect with it and, and be Force sensitive. And that's something that, kind of throws things into crazy chaos or something. So that would make me think it's going to be maybe after the Rise of Skywalker, and maybe way out there in the timeline or something, something that our characters deal with. It also could be something, though, that you're right, that Luke is searching for, and maybe there's, because the craziest thing that they did in the EU, and you're covering it, is when the Yuuzhan Vong showed up, and they they weren't connected to the Force. They were outside of it, almost banished from it, if you will. Right. So that was kind of a weird, crazy twist. So it's like, maybe they're taking some elements there or something. Us even figuring out that Luke could sever himself from the Force in The Last Jedi was interesting.
Well, I think there are a lot of folks out there who feel somewhat slighted that, I mean, people our age read or could have read or had the opportunity to read a ton of EU stuff, of Luke doing a ton of stuff. But now, we had, again, it's just this gap, and I don't necessarily, we can always segue into Rise too, because I assume we're going to talk about that. But, I think that part of Rise was giving some of the fans maybe a little bit of what they wanted. I don't want to say appeasement, but giving fans what they wanted, because this was supposed to be the end, quote, end of this series, and we'll see about that. But I kind of wonder, and the only reason I say Luke is because I kind of wonder if maybe they're going to try and go back and give some fans what they want, and that's what Luke was doing, because I want it. I've wanted it for a while. Yeah. He's been kind of our main character for so long, and because we had so much backstory originally, and that was the Wild West, but we still had it, to have essentially nothing, and we just picked back up with him on Octo, where he severed his connection, like you said, and it doesn't want anything to do with the Resistance, the Rebellion, the Force, the Jedi, Rey, any of this stuff. is odd. So it's like, was the thing with Kylo just that was it? No, I don't know about that. We got to get a little bit more someday. But also, again, I think it would be a good way to continue something on past Rise of Skywalker to be another fandom within a fandom to get people excited for the future. Because I also think that there are a lot of people right now that are kind of like, but now what? But now what do we have? What do we have? Yeah. I mean, we have all these and this is mainly, some of the casual folks, and it's no offense. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you can't invest into all the lore and whatnot, but, the movies are over. Well, okay, Mando was cool, but why do I want to watch Clone Wars? Why do I want to watch Kenobi? And so forth like that. When me and you were like, because Obi-Wan Kenobi was awesome. We totally want to see what happened, and stuff like that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, and I hear you on that. I think that is probably, if you're sitting there in Story Group, Lucasfilm, wherever, in the big office, in the council that is over there, you're wondering, how do we keep the mainstream fan invested or interested? I mean, what is the next big movie? What's the next big thing that's going to get out there and earn them, over $1 billion or whatever it's going to be? I mean, this is so. I think this could be the foundation for whatever that next big movie launch is going to be, is what I'm thinking. Maybe not, though. Maybe they just want to do something that is just some fan service, or they want to do some filler. But just the way it's laid out here makes it seem like it's going to be something more, something super interesting that we've never really quite understood. And here's the thing. Or that we've ever seen before. So in Legends, and when we knew there was no more, Episode 3 was over, and we got some Clone Wars stuff, and that was cool. But people poured into the books, and celebrations were about big book announcements, and people turned to the authors, and they turned to the extended universe for more Star Wars. And so they may give us a time period where we're not going to have a movie coming until 2022. So give us another 2 years or something while we have all these TV shows. People will look at the TV shows. Those are filler. Now, maybe this new, batch of literature is going to be guiding us and taking us toward or in the direction or indicating where they're going to go with the next big film. So,
yeah, that's possible. I think, and you obviously can weigh in too, but I think that, there might have been a little bit of movie overload, previously with Last Jedi and then Solo. Yeah. And then we're supposed to bang straight into Rise of Skywalker. And I think maybe a cooling off period wouldn't be horrible. I've seen some comments about this movie, which has been relatively well reviewed by fans, not necessarily by critics, but all the critics loved Last Jedi, and the fans, it's all debatable because you got a lot of fake outrage too. Yeah, but I've read some comments, and it's just like, gosh, man, I don't know. Is everybody this unhappy about this or what? So maybe it is kind of time to have a bit of a cool off period where we can have some literature. You have your Disney Plus series, and then pow, in 2 years or so, you come back with something built off of possibly this project, and it becomes your new tentpole. I don't think Star Wars is the same as Marvel. I've said that before. Marvel can but even with that, I kind of stopped watching some of the Marvel movies. I'm not that hyped about anything until I saw the Black Widow trailer, which I am hyped about because I always wanted her to have a movie. But we've been on a superhero overload with Marvel too, and I kind of stopped watching some of the supporting films. I still haven't seen Ant-Man or Ant-Man and the Wasp and several other ones, if we're being honest.
Oh, yeah.
But, maybe it is time for a cool-off period, because I don't know about you, but this movie to me was so epic that I'm pretty well content right at this very second.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm good for a while, and And I totally get what you're saying. I think, it's. I think people, when I see some of those gripes and complaints, I think it's more about, I don't know, those people who are. My only gripe or complaint, not even that. It's just like, I just know things didn't go necessarily the way that Kathleen and others expected with directors and stories and storylines and stuff. And so that is what it is. And that's life. It happened, and it sucks because it's such a big, awesome, precious thing. But I think they did the best that they could with what they had, and they made it work. And it is epic, and it gives us a lot. There's a lot. They put a lot of mystery, but they also give us a lot of resolution and stuff in the Rise of Skywalker. And there's a lot to kind of play off of and move forward. But I'm okay with us diving into more comic books and actual books and what have you, and just kind of watch the TV shows and let it build for a little bit, I really just ride this wave of the Rise of Skywalker. Let people who, give it 6, 7, give it till Celebration for people will, watch it and rewatch it, and it'll grow on them, and they'll really start to really like it. And then from there, you have to give people time to absorb. And I don't think sometimes maybe the, I don't know, like part of the issue, although Marvel's awesome, they are still killing it. But for me anyways, I didn't have a whole lot of time to absorb a lot in Marvel with the movies coming and the TV show that was out there. And it did seem, I was like, wow, am I supposed to keep track of all this? This is kind of crazy. So there I'm more of just a fan who jumps in and jumps out or whatever. But with Star Wars, I'm invested and I'm looking at everything. So
right.
I don't know. And I also wanted to touch on something you said earlier with Luke Skywalker, because I am somebody who read all those stories, and I think he's epic, and he's to me Grand Master Luke, and he can do so many awesome things, and he has a son, and he has a wife, and he has a family, and it's super epic. And we may still get more of that with Rey and Ben Solo, maybe. I don't know. If the dark side is a pathway to many unnatural things, then I think the light side, is equally powerful. And I don't know what the phrase is there to indicate that you could bring people back, or that you could, I don't know, that his essence lives on in her or something. I don't know. I just think there's more with the Force dyad there.
Right.
So
right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, seeing as we're kind of nipping on the edges here, you want to just go over Rise then?
Yeah, so it's a lot, there's
I remember I text you, and you got back to me after you watched. I think you watched it a little later than I did in the day.
Yeah,
but I just remember your text being like, I don't even know.
I don't even know.
I don't even know.
I don't even know, because you said something like you're like, all I'm going to say is wow, or something like that. I think you said something.
Yeah, I think
and
that's
I remember it was super late, and I just ended up walking around going, what happened? I don't even know what happened. This is wild. My mind was blown, and so I had to go watch it a second time, and I've only seen it twice actually. So I saw it that second time, and everything clicked. It landed. It hit. I was super into the first movie. I was like laughing, crying, tearing up at one point almost. I was like, what is happening? There were just super awesome emotional moments and stuff. But the one thing that I wanted more of was Luke Skywalker. And I was a little disappointed just in that what they told us after Rian Johnson had killed him was that, well, by killing him, he can do so much more in the Force. And I was like, well, let's see what that is. Let's see what that looks like. And we really didn't see that.
Right.
We saw him intervene with her on Octo 2. I said this the other day to Matt. I would have loved to have seen, Luke standing far back in the distance when Han Solo walked up to Ben. I would have loved to have seen him and Leia standing back there as Force Ghost or something, even though she still hadn't become one with the Force yet. But just some indicator that he was doing something, that he was working on Ben, or he was working with Rey, or helping Leia.
Yeah.
I hope that's in the novelization, but at the same time, I would have loved to have seen just a little bit more. He has some cool lines. The treatment of the saber was cool. I'm glad we kind of got a little bit of.
See, that's an interesting point because I know that there have been some comments that I read about sort of what would be the correct word? Basically, trying to erase some of the quote mistakes of Rian Johnson. I think I told you because we did some talks about Last Jedi as well, and I felt that felt more like quirky Rian Johnson and or actual Mark Hamill than it did Luke Skywalker when he tossed the saber over his shoulder.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. I mean, obviously I love Luke and I think this movie would have been a lot more Leia-centric had Carrie Fisher still been with us. And I think that did cross up a lot of plans for JJ.
Sure it did. Yep.
But I will say this. Whenever we keep being told that when you enter the Force, when you die or pass, you become much more powerful than you could ever imagine. But literally, we have not seen anything other than the intervention through speech until The Last Jedi, where Yoda, summoned lightning to burn the tree. And now Luke is able to, catch something that is corporeal in this dimension in his non-corporeal form or whatever you want to call this, this luminous form. So it's showing that he can interact with things on this plane. He can, I don't know if he can become solid or whatever, or he can make things into his dimensional whatever. If you want to get super nerdy about it, which I won't because I'm not that nerdy. No, maybe I am. But we haven't really seen that. And I think, I don't know. I think we all kind of start to expect it's like, so, or at least me, it's like, so what is this? What is this greater power? What exactly is it?
Yeah.
What makes them so much more powerful than just being on our plane, so to speak. And we can debate about the death of Luke Skywalker in Last Jedi till we're blue in the face. Personally, and we had also talked about the moment, and this was in the novelization, not in the movie, where before he comes upon Rey and Kylo Ren, he had made the decision that he was going to go with her.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, I would have loved to have seen him actually go with her.
Me too, actually. I love that he did what he did. It was a new force power. It was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Interesting. But I would have loved for him to be even just with Snoke in the flesh, or even I wouldn't even have cared if he would have just been there on Crate and actually had become one like Obi-Wan did. I mean, I wouldn't even care if they redid that sort of. It's been done before. So that's sort of the problem, is that like I felt like they were hesitant to do that again because people were so, whining and complaining about like, well, they did all that, Force Awakens was just sort of a rehash. And it's like, guys, at some point, like there's really cool elements, and you've laid down a foundation. You said, this is how Jedi become one with the Force, and this is what they do. And so it was a cool spin. It was a really cool, interesting way to kind of do it, that it took a Jedi Master to project himself there to Crate, and that very few could have done that. I mean, the fact that Kylo Ren says, the force of this would kill you to Rey because he thought maybe it was a force projection or he thought something was going on there is interesting. But I would have loved for him to walk around or walk out of the shadows in Snoke's chamber, and I wouldn't even have cared if he would have said this party's over. I would have been like, oh my God, let's go, man. I would have lost my mind because he's that awesome. That's actually why I tweeted out at Charles Soule when I was reading the new Kylo Ren comic, because when I hear Snoke talk about Master Skywalker, or I hear Ben reference the things that Skywalker did to Snoke, and how maybe potentially powerful Luke is, I'm like, I want to see that. I want to see him go after the Knights of Ren. So I don't know. There are a few things that, like, I guess if I had the choice to do it a little differently, I would have had him there physically. But I also appreciate the creativity of him doing something awesome. And that's where I was hoping, okay, we didn't get to see him actually out there interacting with like Snoke. And it's sort of like, You remember how in the originals, like we didn't see Yoda or Obi-Wan really. We saw Obi-Wan go against Vader, but we didn't get to see, like, I wanted to see, like, how Yoda's just out there. He's an old guy just training people, but could he really take the Emperor? Like, how powerful is he? And then we got to see that, in the prequels. And so that's where I am hoping that if they do something with Luke Skywalker, there's been talk that people want a Luke Skywalker standalone movie where he is super, just OP and going off.
And that's the thing. He was OP in the books. I mean, he took on a literal god. Twice.
Yeah, he did.
So but no, I agree. Now let me ask you this here: do you think that Rian Johnson's execution of Snoke led into almost a necessity to have the Emperor? Because I think we had all talked, and sequentially we had all talked about, like, I was on board with Kylo being the main villain. I was fine with that. But I think that the redemption of Ben Solo was just such a strong, push. But do you think that Snoke being killed in Last Jedi actually, like, necessitated having another villain? Or I don't remember. Would you have been okay with Kylo actually being the big bad guy?
Well, so I was sort of there, like, when we were going into The Last Jedi, I was sort of like, wow, he's just he killed his father. There's no coming back from that. I'm like, he's a bad guy. And I listened. Then people sent me stuff about Reylo, and they're like, but look how he treated Rey and how she influenced him. I thought, well, that's kind of interesting, that you guys are seeing little tiny nods towards like a Phantom of the Opera type of thing.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, that's cool. So then we go into the Last Jedi, and I see him put his hand out. I see him save Rey. He had the option to kill her and to maybe, grow in the eyes of his master or something. But he couldn't do it. There's no way. He had saw visions of them together, and there was all this stuff going on. So that groundwork was between him and Rey was always there.
Yeah.
And I guess that there was subtle hinting, and it's been, I don't know, in the works maybe since The Force Awakens. The thing about Palpatine, though, so I saw Daisy Ridley actually said, this was going into The Last Jedi, she said that, or maybe it was even after, she said that her parents, like who her parents are, when asked about that, she had said, well, that hasn't, as far as she knew, it hadn't changed since JJ had told her about some of her origins in the Force Awakens. And I was like, well, and then somebody asked her after The Rise of Skywalker or either before, has that changed? And she goes, as far as I know, it's the same. It's the same as what JJ had said back in the day. So that makes you think, well, did he say Palpatine? I mean, did he say you're the granddaughter of Palpatine and he is the grandson of Vader? Like, if they said that from the get-go, that's awesome. And that would be cool to kind of think about. And maybe Rian Johnson knew he had to kill Snoke. Maybe that was like a part of his, in the things he was supposed to execute. But you didn't see any trace really of Palpatine. And maybe they wanted more of that in there, and he just didn't execute it the right way. I mean, Darth Sidious is mentioned in it, but and I think that's something Luke does say. It was Darth Sidious who was behind this. He deceived the Jedi, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When he's talking to Rey, so that was cool. But I do kind of think maybe that even if Rey was a Palpatine and they had that down from the get-go, that I think they thought it was going to be Snoke. I actually think Snoke was going to continue on, and it was going to be Colin Trevorrow. I think it was going to be a Luke, master and apprentice versus master and apprentice.
Yeah,
really. I thought it was going to be like Luke and Rey versus Ben and Snoke, and Leia might intervene and help pull him back or something. Maybe Luke did become one with the Force, and then Leia steps in. I mean, there's a lot of different ways I kind of thought that might go. I just thought Luke was going to be there till the end, and I thought Snoke was going to be there till the end. And then when they killed both, I think that's where a lot of people were like, "Wait a second, what? Is this in the plans?"
Right. We kind of get a little bit in Rise, sort of what I call like convenience factors or little tidbits that are thrown in for convenience sake or continuity. Because we had, the line with Luke saying, "Yeah, me and Leia both knew you were Palpatine the entire time."
Yep.
You know, and even just throwing Palpatine in there at the very beginning. Oh, his voice was heard around the galaxy, and then pop, here's Palpatine.
Yeah.
Again, not trying to nitpick, but it just makes me think if, you know, if maybe Snoke would have carried on, would we have even seen Palpatine, or, you know, would I don't know. I still like the whole Palpatine arc here, although I think in some folks' eyes it kind of demeans a little bit of Anakin's sacrifice a little bit. I don't necessarily know if I've made a solid opinion about that yet, but I do like the way, you know, the portrayal was great. I love the final battle with Palpatine, and, you know, him just being his good old manipulative self through the entire thing was still really great to me. So what did you think about Palpatine and his whole arc in this movie?
So here's something interesting. I'm gonna throw this out to you, and I'm gonna see what you think. So there was an actor who was supposed to be in this movie, who at one point was there, who had come in and who had done some stuff. I think it was actually either Colin Trevorrow or JJ who was going to bring in Matt Smith.
Yeah.
And he was going to play like the son, so one of the Mortis gods. And that was actually maybe they're going to be Rey's. Even if Rey was still a Palpatine, she might have been, you know, sort of that was going to indicate, well, like that the son, who was the ultimate villain. Although I don't know, like, if that was going to be your baddie or your villain. There was no foundation laid for that either, though, in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. So you have this Mortis god coming back, and I think that is sort of maybe what Colin was going for. And this is just what I'm reading. I've read this on Screen Rant, Den of Geeks, and different places, where they wanted to bring him back because they didn't know who to bring back, you know. And it was sort of like, what do you do here? And I think it was JJ who came up with the idea, just bring Palpatine back.
Well, the Mortis gods, though, I mean, we had like a snippet of them in Clone Wars, and it's like, God, that would have been a rabbit out of a hat, though. But I mean, what is so wrong about having Kylo as the bad guy, though? Because, I mean, if you continue reading in on the comics and like the Allegiance comics, he was just destroying worlds for the sake of destroying world. This is a guy who murdered a ton of people. You know, through his orders or through his physical hand. What would have been the bad side of like just having him be the villain? I mean, obviously he's a Skywalker, but he could be the villain and Rey being the hero. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I know. I actually thought you had to go one of two ways. Really, you had to either redeem him or you had to keep him as a super evil villain that Rey was heartbroken and had to destroy. I mean, I think leading into the Rise of Skywalker, I thought one of the things that was going to happen is that Rey was going to be again deceived by him, thinking he could be drawn back to the light.
Yeah,
and it was going to be Finn who was telling her that, you know, there's no way he's gone, and it was going to be him who would break through to Rey and help her see that he's truly gone. You know, and we can't bring him back. I don't know, but I do think they had a Ben Demption arc laid down from the get go, because there's things, you know, because Luke's like, I can't save him, and he's like, I'm not here to save him. And then she's like, I know that my son's really gone, and then he says, no one's ever really gone, you know, and it's like, wait a second, you know, I mean, he's just out, and then we see him raging out there in Crate, and you see the connection between him and Rey, and it's like the only person who can really bring him back is Rey. So that still kind of works, but it's also like it works better if the villain, the person who's been pulling the strings, is Snoke, and we didn't know anything about Snoke. And I do kind of think they pulled an audible and said, let's make this work. You killed Snoke, so now let's bring in Palpatine. I really do think that happened. I still think it works and that it landed and it does. They did a great job with it, but it's like, I think we would have felt better if we knew that was that was the plan from the beginning. And I agree. Maybe it was, because one thing I read is that JJ was talking to Lawrence Kasdan and some of the other writers or whatever, and they had talked about like, oh man, this is great. We started this. We have this story laid down here, and he had ideas as to where it was going to go. And I think he was maybe going to weave Palpatine into the second movie, or he would have done some of the stuff that he did in The Rise of Skywalker, but he would have done it earlier.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of thought Rian Johnson was going to do that. And there were people who, I remember when Daisy Ridley read the script and John Boyega, they were sort of like, their eyes literally were like, wow, this is going to challenge some people. This is going to be, pretty crazy. And then Mark Hamill was just completely not satisfied with it. I mean, he was like, what I love about Mark Hamill is he said, it's Ryan's vision. This is what he wants. And I'm going to give him the best performance that I can to help him, to make this Luke Skywalker be as cool or the best that he can, or struggle in whatever way he wants him to struggle. And I thought, good for Mark Hamill, and even Rian Johnson. I mean, he was trying to be creative, and he was doing things that were different. Here's the thing:
he took a risk.
He took a risk. But what I really wish would have happened is, well, then finish it. So one of two things, Ryan, you do all that crazy stuff. That's fine. Now tell us where your crazy mind is going to take this, because I bet if Ryan would have done the third movie, the theme in this is not going to go the way that you expect.
Yeah.
I think he would have flipped that on its head. In the next movie, he would have, exactly what you expect to happen. I mean, not expect, but I think he would have, everything would have really made sense and everything would have mattered, because nothing seemed to really matter as much. Right. At the very end, you hear Luke say, I am not the last of the Jedi. That Rey will rise, that she's going to be this new Jedi going forward. And it's like, okay, he did set that up a little bit. Let's see Ryan finish this off. So Ryan, now who is your bad guy?
Yeah.
In the next movie.
Well, I mean, my biggest problem with trilogies and swapping directors and writers is this very sort of thing where I do think that Ryan had a vision, and I think JJ had a vision, and I don't necessarily think the two of them intersected. Now, I mean, Rian Johnson, you can tell the dude is quirky. I mean, did you watch Knives Out? His new
movie? I haven't
movie?
seen it.
You should watch that. It's actually really good. So, for me, he's definitely not the devil. He's not the worst director ever. Or anything like that. I think he had a vision, and he took a risk, and he took a chance. And I think I appreciate The Last Jedi a lot more now than I did, especially maybe the first two watchings, because it was epic. There were some fantastic elements of it, but I think that when you do these 3 movie arcs, I would prefer that at least the same director does the entire series, so that you can have a little bit more continuity. Because I think it definitely got better on the second and third watch, but this movie, the first half hour it felt like such a rush, it felt like such a, just a big piece of information just thrown at you. And it's like, oh my God, what's going on? Second viewing, it's like, oh, okay, there's that and there's that. Third viewing, it's, okay, I kind of get it. Yeah. But, in the eyes of a lot of casual, weekend movie goers who just want to see a cool movie, to see that much flash before your eyes can be a little bit too much, a little overstimulation. Mm-hmm. But I guess past that, what did you think about then the continuing sort of development of our big 3 are Finn, Poe, and Rey?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, it was cool to see them go on this adventure and to do their thing. And in each of them, they did give, Rey definitely, main character. She's got a big arc, a lot going on.
Yeah.
They did add back story. They added they did some character building for between Poe and Finn. Going on their adventures, arguing over Rey and why she wasn't with them.
Yep.
And then Poe having being a spice runner.
Yeah. You're a spice runner? You're a First Order Stormtrooper? You're a spice runner? You were a scavenger?
Yeah,
that was one
exactly.
of my favorite little good quips. I love that.
Yeah, that was good. He definitely had Poe was a little sassy, that's for sure. I think really, and the way I kind of when I thought about that, and I'm like, man, why is he arguing with everybody? What's the deal? If you read Resistance Reborn, all the pressure is on him. I mean, he feels like everything. He's the leader now. He's got to make this work, but he also felt like he had to just be himself too, and so that was It's kind of crazy. But, you got to see that. Then you got to see Finn and Jaina kind of get to know one another and talk about them being maybe, having a feeling to leave the First Order. And does that feeling mean that you're Force sensitive, Well,
that's a big question because, for Finn, I mean, when Rey died, he felt it like Obi-Wan did after Alderaan.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So okay, Project Luminous. Here's what it is. It is the continued adventures of Master Rey and Padawan Finn.
Finn, dude, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. Because it does kind of remind you, like, if Rey were to recruit some other individuals who were her age, and she's not really seen as, like, she's superior because she knows all this stuff in the Force and maybe she can train them. It reminds you of Luke when he first started passing on what he learned. He passed it on to his sister, and he brought in Corran Horn, he brought in Kyle Katarn, all these other different people who were veteran, I guess I don't know, veterans of the Galactic Civil War. And he taught them, and then they kind of, grew with him. And then they trained a young Jedi Academy once, later on, once they had kind of established themselves. So Rey could do that now. She could bring on Finn and some of these other maybe First Order individuals who are force sensitive, or people who, for example, in that comic, we don't know where it's going to go. Master Skywalker there might be different people out in different regions of the galaxy who had fled after the burning of his temple.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still an option. So that would be really cool. I love that they remember we thought in the Last Jedi, like, what, Finn is not Force sensitive.
Yep.
We're like, he's not. But then here he is, and it's like he has a feeling.
He clearly, at least to me, from what I've seen here, he clearly is. After that scene on the Falcon, it's like, maybe he's not, because like even the Force Collector book, I don't really want to get too spoilery, but he has a connection, but he's not like a Jedi, so to speak. So you can have a connection with the Force and have certain abilities, but not necessarily be like a full-fledged like Jedi. But Poe can fight with a saber. I mean, we've seen him use the saber, hold the saber. It was funny when there was a scene with that little sand snake that was hurt.
Yeah,
she hands her ignited lightsaber directly to Finn.
Yeah,
she doesn't extinguish it, and they use Poe's super cool flashlight, shaky flashlight. No, she holds it, hands it fully lit to Finn, and he holds it like it's not the first time that he's had that saber in his hands.
That's right. I know. That's right.
And you know me, man. I love saber lore. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The whole reason why we started off with Galaxy's Edge is because I want to go build my own saber in Savi's workshop, now. And you brought up Corran Horn. So this just put something in my mind. It's a little aside. So Corran Horn was featured fairly prevalently in the series that we're eventually going to get back to on this podcast, on my podcast with the New Jedi Order. But his lightsaber was dual phase, so he could extend it further and it would change color. I think it went from I don't remember what the original color was, but the secondary color was purple. Yeah. When Rey showed her lightsaber, and she had that little twisty sort of, I know Chase called it a fidget spinner. Yeah. It had that little twisty thing around it. I was kind of like, God, could they bring that back? Rey just has like an extendo saber. It could just, she could control the length of that little thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people talked about the colors too that they saw. They thought they saw like it start to be green, but then it worked toward, green, blue, then worked towards, whatever it ended up being. Yellow. Yeah. So that is kind of cool. That's neat. And there's so many little things that I think what I was telling Lane, and I've mentioned to Matt, and I'll say this to you, like there's so much that I saw in the Rise of Skywalker that led me to believe this is just the beginning. They are literally like, now we've moved on past the, Luke and Leia and your legacy, characters and individuals or whatever. You've established that Rey is taking on the name Skywalker. She has Ben Solo's essence essentially in her. He gave up his life for her. And now she gets to move forward. She has a new saber. She's gone back to Tatooine. She's done paid homage to the Skywalkers, and people get all kind of bent out of shape about that, like, whatever. Like, why did Luke and Leia show up there? They showed up there because Rey was there. I mean, that's why they appear there. To her, they're always near. I think she can see them, and it's like, whatever,
Can I just cut in real quick here with a crazy thought? Because you just literally put something in my head.
Yep.
Oh God, how do I even set this up? Jeez.
Come on now.
Okay, so you talk a lot about Ben's essence.
Yeah.
So, you know how we still kind of debate about Anakin being sort of like the Force child of Palpatine?
Yeah.
So I want you to think on this for a second. I don't even know if I want to talk about it. Oh, goodness. So where is Finn? Where is Finn? Where is Ben's hand when he heals Rey? Kind of in her abdomen area, right? His giant bear paw.
What? Yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying, what if at one point there's a child?
Oh, dude, I actually totally think that could be a thing.
Like somehow he figured out that power as well.
Yeah.
And there is another, and that's the Rise of Skywalker.
No, hear me out. Like people can say, oh, yeah, it's crazy. No, it's actually not crazy. Because the idea is they set up something brand new. They're a Force dyad, and even though Ben and Luke and Palpatine and great Jedi and Sith users might know, or Force users would know that is a thing. It hasn't been around for generations. Cool, whatever. It's something that's super powerful, and they can heal one another, pass stuff to each other. They can transfer things.
Yeah.
So I think if you're messing with midichlorians, that whole scene, you're messing with midichlorians. Rey is dead, completely dead. Yeah. He doesn't just heal her, he brings her back. And that's what I think people keep missing is that, well, he just healed her. No, she was dead, and he brought her back to life. So when he did that, he created life in her, so if he created life in her, yes, she could be carrying a child, and it could be something that he helped to kind of, maybe he didn't even know or whatever. Also they kiss, and a lot of times, oh gosh, the director for Empire Strikes Back, said like essentially kissing in Star Wars is the equivalent to a sex scene, like it's really what he's kind of said that they would never show an intimate relationship or whatever, but that indicates like Han and Leia and then Anakin and Padme and whatever, and now we've got Rey and Ben actually kissing, and it's actually during that kiss he's brought her back to life. So he gave her life, he brought her back, they kiss, and when they're kissing, there's still some transfer, there's still some midichlorian messing going on there, and then he dies. He gives up his life to create new life, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if she had a child at all.
Oh goodness.
And people are like, well, we don't really, why do we need to have that? I'm not saying we need to have it. It's just, I'm thinking it's a possibility.
Yeah, we don't need to have it, but we didn't need to have these 3 movies, but we got them.
Right.
I'm just saying, I didn't even think about that until now, though.
No, that is something I had pondered a little bit, because, it's just, it's interesting. Because I really hope so. I actually hope that would be maybe instead of getting a Ben Solo back, we get, his son or his daughter or whatever.
Or twins.
That would be
named Jason and Jaina.
So, holy. Let's go. She buried the twin lightsabers of the twins with the twin sons. Here's something. I saw somebody said something the other day. They said, like the sequel trilogy wasn't planned out just like the original trilogy. And I would argue with that just a little bit. And I think Mark Hamill and others would as well, because there were twin sons for a reason.
Yep.
There were twins, I think, in his mind from the get-go. And also, Lucas changed a lot. He redrafted. It's his world. He's kind of creating it. How do you know he didn't have in the back of his mind to be cool if you had twins separated at birth type of thing? That's a cool thing to do, because people say, well, look, clearly they didn't know where they were going because they had Luke and Leia, kiss a couple times, once in A New Hope for luck, and then once in, Empire Strikes Back to create jealousy. And then finally at the end of Empire, she kisses Han, and you're like, wait, where are we at here? This seems kind of crazy. That's all just throw off I think he was doing from the get-go.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill just tweeted the other day. He was talking about like incestuous, people saying that, that was bad that they did that in the originals, or how can you, he said, he flat out said it wasn't incestuous whatsoever. He flat out came out and was super, not pissed, but almost in a joking sort of way. I think he said it was incest, or not. What did he put it? Innocence. He used the word innocence and incest, and he put them together. And just because they didn't know, they were
exactly.
And it was just really cool the way he kind of came out and defended that and explained it. So, and actually, there's a picture of Leia getting super close to Luke in Empire that was never used.
Yeah,
they took it out. They cut it for good reason, but. Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm with you on that. I think it'd be kind of cool. So,
I mean, when you think about it harder, and I know some folks don't really care about this, or maybe don't think it's as big a deal, but you have, say there is no children, there's no crazy theories. You've ended the Skywalker lineage.
Yes.
They're done. I mean, there's no one, unless there was a secret Luke child out there somewhere. There's none. It's over.
That's right.
Which to me is a little sad.
It is. Yeah. It's sad for me too.
So, I mean, obviously Rey taking the name of Skywalker is really cool, but she's not a Skywalker per se. Only a name. But to have a continuation of that lineage is actually kind of hopeful. It kind of just, the universe is sort of writing itself, and the Skywalker lineage continues.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this. So I think it's cool. I've heard people say some pretty cool stuff about this. I like that, Rey is, because some of us, if you're born into a family that you just sort of like this sucks, or like you're not born into the Skywalker family. So gosh, you must be worthless and nothing. It's like,
right.
No, you get to choose. There is a choice in life. And I do like that they gave her she said, no, this is, the Skywalkers were more family to me than they're the only family I really knew. And she, having Master Luke and Master Leia, both of them mentored her. And so she wanted to take on the name Skywalker. I think that's kind of awesome, and that she she chose that, and that's what she wants to do moving forward. So that's super cool. It's also cool if there is sort of a seed laid here, if you get my meaning. That there could be another Skywalker. The Skywalker line could continue through the manipulation of midichlorians, because Anakin Skywalker is, it's like again, if that's the Force stirring up, Shmi and causing him to be born or whatever, then that's awesome. He's born to his mother, who is a Skywalker, and we don't know anything of. That's one of the things George Lucas never let people go back and look at, was Yoda's species and Yoda's homeworld, or Skywalker's predating Shmi and where she came from. We never wanted to touch that. That was something he, kind of, I don't know, held back. But to have, now that it's not really the Force that kind of stirred this up. The Force already connected these two, and it already, it caused this Force dyad connection to happen. So, but then Ben makes the choice to give life to Rey, and that's what I like. That's where I think you totally have a continuation right there of it's less like Anakin and it's more something new, where they could kind of continue the line. So
yeah, I mean, it's
you get both. Is what I'm trying to say.
No, I'm with you there. That, gosh, I kind of like that now. I kind of think that that's a cool thought.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to run with it, but man, that would be kind of neat.
It would be awesome. Yeah. And what's funny, they asked Daisy Ridley if she ever, will your character ever reappear in Star Wars or whatever? And she's like, she kind of did like a real big grin. So like, I don't know. You just never know. You never know. As far as I know, Like, and she kept saying that, kind of like, as far as I know right now, like this is it. I'm good. But you never know. And she's like Rey's always around.
Yeah.
And she's like, Rey may be needed in this galaxy again. You just never know.
Well,
and I was like, oh my gosh, let's go.
Well, the character has been such an inspirational character for young girls and women all over, because she's been strong, and she's taken responsibility, and she's been at the focal point of this story.
Yep.
I think she's great. I mean, I'm not going to lie about it. I personally love Finn. Kind of the best of all of them in the beginning. But her entire arc has just been really well done, and even Poe. I didn't really care much about Poe in the first two movies.
Yeah.
This movie, we get a little bit of the, I think probably one of the most perfect scenes was during the end, the space battle at the end. And Poe is seeing his friends, and they killed Snap Wexley.
I know.
And that hit me hard because I love Snap.
Me too.
Nobody else cares, but I care because I read the books. But, people are dying, and like, what do we do? What do we do, General? And he's like, my friends, he didn't know what to do. And
right.
that for me, it was like, it wasn't the continuing hard push hope that Leia had. This was more real. This was a guy who seemingly was a bit overwhelmed, but now he's seeing the end. He doesn't see the hope. And then, of course, we get Lando coming on, the epic music starts, and we have the fleet, which is gigantic. But in the better timed out humor of this movie, getting a little bit of his backstory, the stuff with Zori Bliss, and then that final scene really cemented. It's like, man, I kind of like this guy too. I could get down with a trio. I just kind of want to see more of them because I really enjoy them. It's not like we can get back the old trio back together, and it's Luke, Leia, and Han just doing adventures. Can't really do that anymore.
Yeah, I know, man. I totally feel you. It's just it was cool to see that moment. I mean, he was super real and raw there, and so that was good for him. But you're right; it's also getting back to Rey and Finn. Like, they each did have something in this movie, and it was really cool. And it was really cool to see Rey's arc, and that they really stuck with that the whole way. They didn't deviate from it. They just said, "Nope, she's our main character, and she's awesome. She's a symbol of hope and the way we should behave and act and be humans." And it was great. Yeah, I love it. I just love it. And I hope we get more. I hope that they continue Rey's story. I would love for Rey to be kind of like Luke was in the EU, Yeah. Like, if you're not going to give us sort of like the EU that we had, or the Luke Skywalker we had in EU, then give us Rey in what would be your extended universe now. Like, show us what she's doing and let little, kids read about Rey and learn about her and how she's passing on what she's learned and setting up a temple and
I was about
stuff.
to say, do you think that she will start her own temple?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know if, like, Coruscant's still out there, man. There's still right. I mean,
this is a big debate though over the temple structure of things. And obviously, Luke didn't do it the same way that the old Republic did, where they're taking children. So essentially they can, and I don't really want to like hound on it too much, but essentially breed you in. And in a way, there are some folks that think it's brainwash, and it kind of a little bit is. You're taken from your family. You're not really supposed to know them. You're taken before a certain age because there can be trouble. I mean, we kind of saw that with crap, I can't remember. Oh, Rael Averroes. That's who I was thinking about. Sort of some of the trouble with him and not acclimating well. Yeah, Rael Averroes. Yeah, with his strange accent.
Right.
But anyway, I mean, like, even reintroducing Dooku back to his planet and meeting his sister and having that sort of thing, but then the rigidity of the Jedi Order at the time, I think, contributes a lot to, some of the journey to the dark side, because they're effectively creating their own fear. But anyway, I kind of wonder how they're going to do that, because I don't think they can do it like the past. That's been kind of proven to not really work. They became blind to the dark side around them. So,
right.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if she would. I mean, obviously in the Rise of Skywalker or the Rise of Kylo Ren comic, we got to see three. I don't know if they're apprentices or knights at that point, but three kind of younger folks that sort of fight Ben after the temple's destruction a little bit, which was cool to see some of his other apprentices, Luke's other apprentices that had survived.
Yes.
So, I don't know. That'll be interesting to see if she actually sets up a temple or not.
I hope the order changes. I hope like they do something where Luke kind of did a bit of a shift and learned and grew from those the ways of the original, I guess, when Yoda was in charge of it and stuff and learn. I mean, Yoda says, "I have failed." I mean, he there are things that they realized that they had done wrong. They had lost sight of what it was to be connected to the living force, and then also to be just guardians of peace and stuff. So, yeah,
we'll see. I mean, there's obviously a lot of things that have to happen after this movie.
Yeah.
We have to entirely reconstruct an entire government again. There has to be some sort of structuring to this galaxy that has to happen, but I'm excited about it, man. I hope that we get more literature, if not more movies, just more continuation of what's happening here, because I think it could be really, really interesting to see.
Yeah, and let me ask you a couple of questions before we kind of wrap up here. I'm thinking. So one thing I've always wanted to kind of do, and this from the days back on Rebel Watch, and then trying to do some stuff with Bright Tree, wanting to do kind of like a really light book club, just something that's very, very casual. I don't have the time, honestly, to even do like a real in-depth study of some of the books, but I love to talk about the EU books, and I love to talk about some of the new canon books. Like the Force Collector book was actually awesome. Have you read the Force Collector book?
It was fantastic. It was a shorter read, but it was, gosh, that book was pretty epic.
Yeah, it was just crazy to see how they talked about the Force, possibly skipping a generation, and then he's connected to his grandmother, his great grandfather. I don't want to spoil that, but just how cool he was, and like you said. So, anyways, what I'm getting at is I think it would be kind of cool. If we got together a couple of times, and I don't want to put like a time frame on it or whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of said this to Matt, and I've mentioned it to a few other people. Just I don't even care whose podcast or where it's at, but I would love just to get together and talk more about whether it's an EU book or because I think the project what was it, Project Luminous or whatever. Once they announce that, it's not like we're gonna get a book or a comic book in February, is it? It's gonna be down the line, right?
I would assume so. I would assume it won't be right up on that, but I mean, we'll have to see, man. I'm looking forward to that.
So I just kind of think we have some time. I think we have some time to fill. And I don't know. I was just thinking it'd be kind of cool to dive in because you're a Legends guy. You're doing a Legends read through, and I know you got that on your plate. But I love bouncing around, and I was telling you I'm reading the Bounty Hunter Wars and stuff, and kind of looking at all of that book I haven't read in a long time. I read that when I was super young, and I didn't quite understand everything that was going on. And I read that before I had read some of the other stuff. The Shadows of the Empire and different things. So
yes, absolutely.
Just when I got to it was later, and that stuff was out. So yeah, man, I don't know. Just saying because we got this is it. We're into 2020, and we've got 8 months until celebration, and we got I don't know, just some deep diving I think to do in Legends. I mean, here's something too. I did a pickup the other day. I went and got let's see here, what is it called? Dark Empire, I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
and it is a comic book, and it has to deal. It kind of deals with Palpatine's resurrection. It's a Dark Horse comic. I just got it for fun. I'm probably going to do a little thing on our Patreon, or maybe even do something on the main feed. just because why not? It kind of seemingly fits, and you wonder what it's like to sit in over there at Lucasfilm, and like you have all this cool, rich content that you can pull from, different ideas to stimulate the mind, if you will, and you even get a gauge on how fans reacted to this. And I think this was like kind of poorly received, but it was, but it's still interesting, that they, Palpatine is back, and they kind of talk about that in Dark Empire. It's just crazy.
Yeah, the Dark Horse comics were interesting, but yeah, not the first time Palpatine has been resurrected. So
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking, going forward, it'd be kind of cool if people want to do some type of little get together or gathering, and
for sure.
And since we've already read a lot of the books, it's nice just you don't have to spend we can just go back and kind of refresh ourselves and do a cursory kind of read through, and then talk about it. So
yeah,
unless literally they drop a new canon book on us in February or something crazy.
Well, here's the thing, and a lot of you have probably, if you're listening to this, have probably heard some of the Rebel Watch stuff from the past. And years ago we did a book club there, and that was a lot of fun. And 4 or 5 folks just sitting around talking books. And eventually we'll have to do something again with that, because it was a nice medium to explore some literature for sure.
Yeah, I'm even thinking like we could probably find a spot like between me, you, and Tom, get some of the book club back together, and maybe rendezvous somewhere. And
exactly. And, old Master Tom, we gotta get him back in the fold too.
Oh yeah, you talk about somebody who's elusive. That guy,
no doubt.
He's out there. Hey, I know Lane actually is big into Star Wars as well. So maybe we could get him to read a book now and again with us or something, or just even something he's already read. We can kind of weave him in. And the only person remotely we'd have to get would be Matt, or maybe even like if Lindsay's read something too. I mean, we could.
We have a good council of friends for a lot of that. So yeah, we'll have to make something happen with that. There are plans for 2020.
Yeah, dude, I'm down. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about all the things I want to do in 2020, and there's just so much, but it's a good problem to have.
No doubt. Well, hey, man, it was good talking with you.
Yeah, you as well, man. This is cool. So I always love coming on the Contingency Plan Podcast and chatting it up, and it's good, dude. We're going to Celebration. We're going to cons this year. They're on the calendar, and I can't wait, man. It's just going to be so much fun. So
neither can I.
Yeah, but you're always welcome on Hyperspace anytime you want, my friend. Hit us up, and if track us down, get a hold of Matt. We'll get you on here more. We need to get you on here more because we need that literature base. We need that. That's why I love bringing Lindsay on too. Just someone who can fill in the gaps a little bit. So
yeah, we'll get something going with that too. Absolutely. So. All right, man. Well, it's good recording with you, and we will chat with you again very soon. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that conversation. I know I did. Again, if you'd like to follow Ez anywhere, you can find him on Hyperspace Hangout, Bend the Knee, An Unexpected Podcast, Further Up, or the new Heroes of the Horn podcast. Make sure to go follow him out there. You can also find him on Twitter, Womprat. It's Womprat_2M for 2 meters. And you can find the majestic space wizard out there tweeting about all sorts of interesting stuff. So make sure to give him a follow. If you would like to follow our podcast, obviously you already are subscribed if you're listening, hopefully. But if you'd like to follow us on social media, Twitter is @TC Plan Podcast. You can find us on Facebook. And if you'd like to send us an email with any of your theories, any thoughts, comments, concerns about any of the episodes, or just anything new, let us know and we'll discuss them right here on the podcast. The email is tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. And just have a great rest of your week. And as always, may the Force be with you.